Yeah.
So the next question I have for you guys is, what was something you learned that you could never prevented and you just didn't know, even if you put everything in place, you just didn't know, right? You wouldn't have been able to solve it. Maybe you can never solve it, but what would be something I have one come to mind that, it was something that I learned along the way and there was nothing I could do about it. It sucked, right? And I have a situation where it did come up. I now have something in place to prevent it, but, because a lot of times people are afraid of what can happen and they're afraid of what they don't know. But
Hmm.
sometimes you can't solve that problem and there's nothing you do. Do you have a scenario, Casey, that you ran into that even today you don't have an answer for, that you just said, crap, I can't prevent that mistake from happening and to learn from it?
I mean, we have a lot of mistakes. I mean, I think when we do go and have to get a house back and it's been into a very bad shape, is something I really can't prevent
Yep.
and nothing I can really do about them. It's
Yep.
part of the game. That has bitten a little bit a couple of times, but not super common. I usually get rentals in worse shape back than I do.
Yeah.
But so it's not a common one, but I do think that most problems we've been able to mitigate the risk, but
Sure.
as much as we can. I can't think of a good example.
Sure. Well, we can go back in it, right? Nathan, do you have a scenario that I have one in my mind that we both have, we probably not even thinking about, is, we never can predict what a note's going to do. A
Yeah.
performing note, a non-performing note. We buy a note that's performing and it defaults, right? And then we can't control that. We can't control a note and what happens. If I buy a great note that I think is going to perform forever and it
Yeah.
stops performing, I have no control over that. And there's nothing I can put in place to hold that to be true. All I can do is calculate, making sure my offer takes care of all those scenarios,
Yeah.
right?
Yeah. And then I was thinking, I totally agree. And that's, people are weird. I've been surprised at, the direction it goes where that doesn't make any sense. And there's
Nope.
no reason it should go that way, but that's the decision of the borrower.
It's
So,
people.
hey,
You're foreclosing with equity. For
yeah.
those who don't know, the house is, owed 50 grand. It's worth 100. Why am I foreclosing it? Why are they selling it? And
Yeah.
there's sometimes we don't get it,
No,
right?
it
And
makes
like
sense.
Casey said, sometimes the housing condition we can't control and we can't get inside to look at it,
Yeah.
Yeah.
right?
And
You
that
can't
that
get
was the one
inside.
I was thinking of, is especially on a non-performing note. I don't know. There's a very high chance that I'm going to take that property back on a non-performing vacant property. That's
Yeah.
very likely this scenario. And I can do my best guess of what the inside looks like based on the outside conditions, but I don't know. I don't know for sure. And we can get in that house and all of a sudden there's all these problems that we just could not have foreseen. We can make some guesses and some fairly educated guesses, but we can't know for sure until we get that back.
So
The,
Casey,
The story
before,
that I'm
yeah,
sorry, the story that came to mind for me in Vernon,
yeah,
Texas, which is a small little town. I got a house. One of the first ones I did. I got the house back. We did a cash for keys, and deed in lieu. He didn't want anything to do with it. We go out there and to find out there was about a 3.5 foot hole in this roof that had been raining on. How long that had been open? It just caused all kind of molds and damages throughout the house that wasn't expected. Luckily, we bought that one right, as you said a minute ago. We bought it very right, and we actually turned around and resold that as is, but at like 25% value to someone he's a rehabber. He wants to live in it. And he's going to fix it himself. I'm like, you go for it,
awesome.
buddy. But
Mhm.
we're able to find a creative solution to that problem without pouring a bunch of money in it, but definitely an issue.
So
And we
Casey,
usually can. We can usually
yes,
find some workaround. Sometimes you can't.
yeah. So
Mhm.
Casey, what was your worst deal? And if you could start over again, what would you do differently, if anything, to prevent it from going bad?
It's the worst deal I had. It was not a note, but I'll say that what I could have done to prevent it is, trust but verify. And I took someone at their word that they were going to cash pay for a property, and we were going to close outside of title. Again, I thought I was doing a friendly favor. I thought I was doing my view, the right thing to help someone out, and he was lying left and right. And unfortunately, that has now tainted my ability to just blindly trust. And now I didn't have it papered. I kind of had the old handshake trust theory, and it literally went through court. We're looking at text messages to prove my case. Like it was a problem
Wow.
on about a $1.3 million house.
Oh,
And yeah, it was an ordeal. But I didn't have it papered and correctly. And I think that what I obviously should have not just taken his word. And I think somebody said a minute ago too, I think anybody that's been doing real estate long enough has had bad deals. You've had bad deals. And I think that had I heard my story before getting started, I might have been scared. But don't be
mhm.
scared. don't let that be intimidating. And I'm glad that didn't scare me away because we could learn and improved and did better. But bad deals are going to come apart. It's a part of the learning. Have people
Mhm.
you can turn to and a network to learn from, but it's part of the process. I don't care if you're flipping or wholesale, you're going to have bad deals. It shouldn't be deterring. It
And
should be
you're going to have more
motivating.
hard, you're going to have more bad deals in your business, right? It's not,
Mhm.
it
No, right,
just changes.
right.
So Nathan,
Yeah.
what would, we've talked about this monthly, what would you have done differently in one of your quote unquote bad deals that prevented from being bad?
I got one that's still not done. I talked about this one a little bit. Still not done. This one in Chicago that I got, where, first of all, Chicago, that's the problem. And
Yeah.
just Chicago is just a very difficult place to work in for all kinds of reasons on every level, honestly. And so, yeah, the mistake was I finished a foreclosure. The only reason I bought the note is because it was already in foreclosure. It was about to complete. So I'm like, good, it'll be, fast, easy deal, very predictable. I know where it's going until we got a squatter. And that
Mhm.
was right as COVID was starting. And then she just very much took advantage of that. I actually, 2 weeks ago, last week, my attorney sent me a clip that she had posted on Instagram where the judge was actually kind of going off, and she just took a little recording of it. And it was good because he didn't talk about the names or addresses or anything like that. So it's okay.
Yeah.
He was just going off and talking about how this lady's a professional squatter, and on and on and on and on. It's pretty funny that the judge is up to here with it. And
Yeah.
you can imagine how we all feel. But anyway,
Yeah.
the judge is just
Yeah.
like, this is ridiculous, still not done. And she's still not out. We actually had a court case, I think it's today, where this should be the nail in the coffin. This should be the end of it. But she's very successfully dragging it on. And like literally beginning of COVID. So she's been there 3 years,
Wow.
hasn't ever paid a dime, and still not done. So how would I change that? It goes back to the trust but verify, like Cayce's
Don't
saying.
buy Chicago.
Don't mind Chicago, but it all started because she expressed interest in buying the house and said that she
Ah.
would go in and start doing some work on the house. Why did I say yes to that? She was not a licensed anything, and that was my big mistake, is just saying, yeah, okay, go for it.
So
Oh,
my worst mistake, and then we'll get to Nathan's last question, is, my worst mistake. We've mentioned our worst mistakes on the show, and I'm going to bring up a different one. There's a deal in Miamisburg, if Tim's on, right? Back in 2011 that I didn't trust my gut saying buy it, and it ended up being a killer deal, right? It was a deal that because I just didn't, my gut says buy it, and I just got scared. And we were newer, 2010, 2011, 2013, so around there. It was just, we got scared, and we shouldn't have been scared. We should have said, okay, the numbers look good. We bounced off a few other people, and everyone said, yeah, great deal, go for it. And we got nervous and didn't buy it. And it was a killer deal. We should have bought it. And it was just the fact that we didn't trust our network and our numbers saying this is a good deal. And it goes back to the fact that, if you have a good deal, you can bounce it off of other people and say, what do you guys think of this? And if
well,
multiple
then,
people say it looks good, go for it.
so was it because the numbers were too big, or you just didn't have experience with that, or
It
what?
was
What held you back?
experience, and it was a bigger note. I think the house it was a note was like 60. It was a bigger note for
Mhm.
beginners, but it was like 250 value. And it's like, is it this? It was too good to be true kind of scenario. And it was, we're getting sold directly by the person who owned it. And it was like a one situation, so no one else saw it. And I just didn't go for, I don't know why. And we look back and go, man, I forget all the numbers, but it's like we should have went for it. And it was just the fact that we didn't trust ourselves and the people we talked to. Say,
Mhm.
this is a great deal, go for it. And it was
Mhm.
just nervous because when you're first beginning, you're nervous about everything because you just don't know what you don't know. So I
Yeah.
hope this episode here, guys, helps you guys learn a little bit about the problems that we face and what we would do differently if we started brand new in the space and go through it. I think it's been really helpful just sharing the different perspectives as well as Casey's idea from origination side, right? He didn't know but Armelo and things like that. But the education gives you that knowledge
Mhm.
and your
Mhm.
network. For us, it's learning
Mhm.
about different scenarios because one of the things you learn is just because you are in the space, your deals are always different from everyone else's. So you may do 100 deals and never see one situation. It just happens. So that's why your network is huge, to hear about their stories, learn from their perspectives and things like
Mhm.
that.
Yeah.
So go ahead,
Yeah.
Nathan Lee, take it away.
All right, Cayce, this is the crystal ball question. So we want to know, so you done this for a little while now, and now you've kind of got your processes down and everything else.
This isn't whiteout. This is real.
What do you see coming down the pipe, especially on the origination side where you're at in Texas? Is it increasing, decreasing, and what do you expect to see?
Phenomenal question. I definitely was reading the other day about, the supply being increased here in Texas more and more, the builders adding more and more homes. So my reselling of homes, I have a little longer hold time. I like the interest rates are higher. It's easier for me to sell at my rates when bank rates are higher. So I'm happy about that. I'm still taking over a lot of homes that are COVID or prior type loans. And so, it really allows me to take over a low interest, which is great. I see that continuing. I think, that the hold times are going to probably keep creeping up a little bit, but they're not going to get out of control here in Texas. We have a pretty good demand across the board. Prices, Abbott increased the amount that we can do on property taxes not long ago. And so that's helping bring down some people's PITI, which is helpful for our borrowers. And right now we're moving into the summer, which is a phenomenal time. So, we've bought 5 houses this week, and we've been buying incredibly fast. And I think it's easier for me to buy than sell always, at least quicker. I can contract and be closed in 10 days to buy a house, but it usually takes me about 45 days to sell traditionally. It just depends. So I do think that we focus more on a little bit bigger cities than we have in the past. So we do have a little bit lower hold times, because hold time is what kills me, because I'm paying marketing, I'm paying holding costs and mortgages, et cetera. So I care a lot about the whole time. And I do think that we are also going to be a little bit lower on some of our interest rates when we're reselling them, because I do feel like the economy is slowing a little bit for some people, having a harder time handling some of their mortgages. So we're willing to set it. We typically, if it's under 200, we're at a 9.99 when we resell. We may come down to a 9.5, which, it doesn't sound like a big deal, but it kind of is.
Yeah.
And I think we'll be more quick to do that than we had in the past. We won't start off there, but if it's not moving at a month and a half, I may start be looking at my interest rate, just because I do want to move through them and not try to get all the, water out of the cheese, or whatever that old saying is.
Yeah. Are you using agents to find their borrowers, or are you finding them?
No, we do all of our own marketing to find our own buyers ourselves. We don't use agents to buy or sell. We use a lot of Facebook. I spend almost much on Facebook because I do Google ads to find our end buyers. And we use a couple other sites to get them out there. But yeah, we do our own direct marketing to sell to buyers.
That's awesome. Awesome. Good deal. Well, Cayce, I know people have your connection. I'm sure you'll get emails from people asking questions about, your experience, your knowledge. Those who are originating and whatnot. Cayce is a wealth of knowledge. We've known him for about a year or so now, plus he's been part of our private group and all that stuff. So it's awesome to have that experience and knowledge and just the insight of what it's like to begin, right? We all started from somewhere, and it's hard to begin. It's really difficult. But once you get breakthrough, it's a joy to be part of it. Well, Cayce, I thank you very much. Hold on for after hours for us for a few minutes. For everyone else, we will see you soon. We'll be on before. We're going to do a call before DME. If not, we'll see you down at DME.